Good morning, beloveds. If you haven't looked at the calendar today, it is November 13th. It is also Friday, which makes it Friday the 13th. Now, I don't watch horror movies, so I've never seen any of those movies. I do know that Friday the 13th has a terrible reputation, and there's some interesting theories about that. One of which is that it is the day that the Pope and the King of France, I should have asked my history major husband this, conspired to destroy the Templars. The Templars the Templars started banks to support pilgrims on pilgrimage. And because of that, they ended up with a lot of money, which, of course, since they had money, they had a lot of political power. And there were a couple of people, including, like I said, one of the kings and the Pope, who went, yeah, we can't let this stand. So they put a secret order together, and it was opened the letters were said to be open on a specific day, which happened to be Friday the 13th. And on that day, they opened it, and then it was an order to basically go slaughter the Templars. Which is one of the reasons why Friday the 13th has such a negative connotation. Now, there's another one, which has to do with femininity. Because if you look at women, because we have a 28-day cycle, then we tend to have 13 menstrual cycles in a year. We also tend to ovulate around the 13th day in the menstrual cycle. So there's a sacred connection to divine femininity with the number 13. Well, around, 14 something, a whole lot of men got a little upset about things and decided to go after women. And a lot of healers lost their lives because they had become powerful forces in the community, and there were some men who got a little upset about that. So I would encourage you to if you have an issue with Friday the 13th, go back and look at why. Go back and dig into the superstition, dig into, if you are a horror movie fan, dig into the sacred femininity, and look at maybe there's more to this than meets the eye. History has this way of moving where some things are sacred and then suddenly they're taboo, and then some things that were taboo are suddenly sacred. It's sneaky. But this is what happens when you have a minister who is an anthropologist married to a history major. We look at stuff like this. We discuss this ad nauseum. You know what? If you enjoy horror movies, more power to you. I cannot. I have way too vivid of an imagination, and I dream in full Technicolor. I don't want to have that in my head. So, the franchise made a whole lot of money, so y'all really love it. But that has nothing to do with science. Well, it may have science of mind, because it's encouraging you to question the beliefs that you have and what underlies them. And that is one of the things that science of mind is big on. It's like, we're okay with you having beliefs. We want you to have beliefs. We just want you to look and see what the underpinnings are. Because if they're not serving you, why are you believing them? Go down, look at your unconscious beliefs, and feel free to rearrange them. But today, November 13th, our title is Communion. Our Bible quote is, "His delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night." And that is from Psalm 1:2. Wow. There are a whole lot of Psalms. And they're beautiful. Yeah, if you just need a good, reading, pick the Psalms. Go read the Psalms. There are a whole bunch of them, and a number of them are absolutely beautiful. Okay, There is always a silent communion going on between the individual soul and the invisible presence. This communion should become a conscious union of the self with the overself, of the mind with the spirit, of the personal with the impersonal. As the artist communes with the essence of beauty and gives birth to form through this communion, so our minds should commune with the presence of God. This communion should arise from an awareness of the divine presence. Today, I commune with the Spirit. In nature, I see the Spirit manifest, and in everyone I meet, I shall commune with the living Christ. The divine presence in him, sensing its perfection, realizing its beauty, and being consciously aware of its love. Today, I hold silent communion with that invisible presence that peoples the world with manifestations of its life, its light, and its love. And from the Science of Mind text, the greater the consciousness of God, the more complete must be the realization of the true self, the divine reality. And that is from the text, the Science of Mind text, page 343. I wear bifocals, but the text in here can be so small on the page numbers that I need to buy one of those magnifying bookmarks. Oof. I do have an eye doctor appointment on Monday, Saturday. Tomorrow. Ooh. Okay. All right. So communion. And I was raised Catholic, so when you say communion, it immediately evokes communion in the Catholic Church, which is a whole ritual. And it's a beautiful ritual because you go up to the priest and you have your hands folded and you're looking at, I don't know, I think I always ended up looking at his feet. And he holds out the host to you, the little cracker. And, he says, and now that I'm talking about it, I don't remember. I believe he says the bread of Christ, or the body of Christ. Sorry, the body of Christ. And then you respond, and this tells you how long it's been since I've been. I don't remember you, but you respond to that, and then he places it on your tongue or in your hand. I was raised. I'm young enough that I remember that you had a choice between him putting it directly in your mouth or dropping it in your hand, so that you could put it in. And then I think you crossed yourself, and then you had the choice also of doing the wine, where you could, and it was real wine. I don't think it was good wine either. And as children, we could do that once you went through your first communion, because it was literally sip. So you went over and went through the same ritual, and it was a sacred ritual in that moment where you were literally taking in the body of Christ and taking in the blood of Christ. You were communing with the divine reality. You were accepting that through this ritual. You were accepting that Christ lived within you. It's absolutely a beautiful ritual. And trust me, Catholics don't have the lock on it. They just have, I think that they have the most pomp and circumstance around it. Although I did go to an Eastern Orthodox church, and they're pretty pomp and circumstance too. So it's not that different from what Ernest is talking about here. It is talking about a conscious union, a conscious communion, a conscious communication, a conscious acceptance. His delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. Wow. I honestly, with that Bible quote, I would feel on more stable ground talking about it if I went and read what the rest of the psalm was about, because I honestly, that one does not ring a bell with me. Okay, so there's always a silent communion going on between the individual soul and the invisible presence. So because the individual soul, the individualized part of you, is a part of the invisible presence, there's always going to be a communication. That is the reality of life. It's a silent communication that it's an undercurrent to our lives. I'll say that. So we're not always aware of it. This communion should become a conscious union of the self with the overself. That's an Emerson. Of the mind with the spirit, of the personal with the impersonal. So it's like this communion is an undercurrent in our lives, but we can bring it to the surface and make it conscious. Consciously uniting who we are with who we are, or who we come from. Maybe think about it that way. The mind with the spirit, the self with the overself, and then the personal with the impersonal. The law is impersonal, and we are constantly communicating with it. We are constantly using it, and frequently we are doing it unconsciously. It's like we flippantly say things and we don't realize we're communicating with that. Now, don't get all paranoid about everything you say coming out, but when you say flippant things, is there a pattern there? Because if there's a pattern there, that's a definite communication style that you are having with spirit that you may want to think about. I remember one of the things that sent me screaming into therapy one time, almost literally, was I was playing a video game and I was listening to the way I was talking to myself, and I was like, wow, we have a pattern here and this is not healthy. We're going to go do something about this. So as soon as I became conscious of this pattern, then I was like, okay, I can fix this now. But you have to become conscious of it. This is beautiful. As an artist communes with the essence of beauty and gives birth to form through this communion. Okay? So think about it, because we're all artists in our own way. We think of the great painters and the great sculptors and what have you, and I'm none of that. But in my own way, I am an artist. There are a number of things that I practice. Even what I do in my mortgage paying job it's part science and part art. So it's a matter of, and it is communing with, it's like you see this image in your head and you bring it forth into form. It is a gift from spirit coming through you. So our mind should commune with the presence of a God, because that is how we are bringing things into form. This communion should arise from an awareness of the divine presence. We know it's there. We know it's there. We feel it. But now, what Ernest is asking us to do is to be conscious of the back and forth between our individualized soul and the great oversoul. It's like, it's happening, people. Be aware of it. Actively participate in this communion. When an artist is communing with beauty, I see this image, and then I work to bring this image into material form. And that's what Ernest is asking us to do here with our communion with spirit. Be aware of it, consciously aware of it, consciously feeling it, consciously thinking about it, and then actively participate in the back and forth. Actively communicate to spirit, and then listen for the answer. Today, I commune with spirit. In nature, I see the spirit manifest, and in everyone I meet, I shall commune with the living Christ, the divine presence in him. Okay, there it is again. So, it's easy to see spirit in nature. It absolutely is, especially when nature is just being gloriously beautiful, like in the spring and in the fall. It's easy to see. But how about in the people's eyes that you meet? And whatever surface interaction you are having with that person when you are talking to them, there is an undercurrent communion going on between your soul and their soul. Is it loving and kind? The surface communication may be wonderful. But what is your underlying communication with their soul? Are you seeing the Christ in them? Are you seeing the divine presence in them? Are you seeing that godling looking back at you? So, and everyone I meet, I shall commune with the living Christ of the divine presence in him, sensing its perfection, realizing its beauty, and being consciously aware of its love. Yeah, that's what he's asking us to do. Regardless of your surface interaction with that person, to allow that soul-to-soul communication to be Christ-like and loving. And that will bleed into your surface interactions. How can it not? If you are allowing the undercurrent of love, how can that not come to the surface? Today, I hold silent communion with the invisible presence that peoples the world with its manifestations. The invisible presence that peoples the world with its manifestations. Everyone you look at, every being, human and otherwise, those are manifestations of that invisible presence. That is they are manifestations of the divine. And if you think about it, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. Mind-blowing and amazing. Manifestations of its life, its light, and its love. All right. The greater the consciousness of God, the more complete must be the realization of the true self, the divine reality. So, and that from the Science of My textbook. So the more we focus on, the more conscious we are of the divine reality, of the divine presence, of love, truth, light, beauty, the more we're going to see it around us. And the more we're going to realize that we're a part of it. So, I don't know. I mean, he gives you a pretty clear mission. It says, today I commune with the Spirit. So our mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to see to see Spirit manifest in everyone we meet. Everyone. And he gives, that's not the first time he's given us this mission. But we are in the month of gratitude. And so one of the things that we get to be grateful for, it is our privilege to be grateful for, is the communion with Spirit. The communion with Spirit, the communication, and to bring it into a more conscious current in our life. Not an undercurrent, but a surface current. Ugh. All right. So, do something loving for yourself. Do something kind for yourself. Do something compassionate for yourself. Today, make that effort for that constant communion. Conscious communion. Because the more conscious your communion is, the more constant your communion will be. Like he said about the artist, like, that's where it comes from. All of the ideas, all of the beauty that artists bring into the world, it's coming from somewhere. And everyone has access to that. Everyone has access to that. So, yeah. All right. It's kind of an odd day out there. It's muggy and it's hot, and I'm not opening my windows today. But please do something to engage your mind and your body. We do have a cold front coming, fortunately. I know where I live. I say that. I know where I live. The weather is what it is. So do something loving for yourself. Do something kind for yourself. Do something compassionate for yourself. Do something that engages your mind and your body. Open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to come in. Allow that breath of heaven to remind you that you are a beloved child of God, in whom Spirit is well pleased, and that you live in heaven now. It is all around you. What it takes is conscious communion with that divine presence that is constantly surrounding you and constantly loving on you. All right. Reverend David will be on with you around 5 p.m. today. I will be back with you tomorrow around 9. I do get to go play with the squirrels tomorrow, and it's warm, so we'll see. I do enjoy the squirrels. Yeah, and the squirrels like me because I'm a little nutty. I admit it. So do what you need to do to make it a fantastic day, beloveds. All right? Have a wonderful day.